Bitcoin. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Bitcoin. What is it good for? Well, that's the big question today. I know. I am not a singer. You don't like me singing. That's too bad. But that's the question of the day. Bitcoin, what is it good for? And, to be frank, what has blockchain done for society to date? What are the problems that it has solved? Has it changed the world? Are we living in a new enlightenment because of blockchain? I mean, seriously, answer me that one question. Bitcoin and blockchain, they are inseparable. They are one and the same. There can be no debate on that. Bitcoin to date is really the only blockchain application that people know of. I mean, name another. Name another that you know of, please. Not you people who are steeped in the crypto industry. Of course you know other things that nobody else knows that are like, man, they are so obscure. But tell me, it's been around now for 11 years. What problems has Bitcoin, I was going to say blockchain, it's the same thing, Bitcoin solved for humanity? Sure, it's made a bunch of people in concentrated areas fabulously wealthy. It's also broken many people, especially with the filth that's dragged along in the form of altcoins. Those mysterious projects, thousands of different coins. Most were outright scams, Ponzi schemes, frauds, money grabs, and they still exist today. Most of which are keeping the SEC and the FBI very busy running down the criminals that run them. Look, am I saying that there are no useful projects? No. But I am saying it's not blockchain that makes them useful. It's the project and the problem the project solves that more than likely could be solved any number of ways. See, blockchain is not revolutionary technology. The principles and the actual implementation, that's been around for a long time as a standard collection type in most modern software libraries. It's called a linked list. And the idea of distributing an application that has, quote, decentralized control, I'll talk a little bit more about decentralized in a moment, has also been around for more than 30 years. It's what I have spent the majority of my life's work on as a technologist, as a chief technologist of a Fortune 50 company, including distributed decentralized systems, mostly in the financial sector. I mean, that's what I've done. So, what is it?
Okay. I found this on the web.
Yeah, that's okay, Siri. Thank you. So what is it, where was I going here? What is it that Bitcoin, what makes Bitcoin so great? Well, it's the first to achieve mass scale, mostly because it does have one redeeming quality that a lot of people like to talk about, and that is it has censorship resistance. Now, that was initially used by people who really value that quality of censorship resistance. Who are those people? Well, they're primarily drug dealers. I mean, you remember Silk Road. Also, people who want to watch porn. Criminals that are engaged in ransom, extortion, and money laundering. I know you don't like to hear it. That's a meme, but it's true. And basically anyone that wanted to stay under the radar of the law. It grew popular because it was cool. And you could mine it with just a GPU. I mean, anybody could mine it, but that was only good for the first few years. And after that, it's virtually impossible for the average person to approach mining. It's out of the hands of us. And we all know where it's in the hands of right now. It's in the hands of China. We all know that. Where Bitcoin is truly centralized. Going back on the decentralized notion. Now, Bitcoin grew popular, again, because it was cool. And for a while there, and maybe even to this day, it was spreading. Well, actually not to this day. I would say up until 2017 when the bubble burst, maybe a little bit beyond that. With more people adding to the network, they continually increased the network, and the power in Bitcoin was in the power of that growing network, a continuously growing network. That's where the power of Bitcoin resides, in its growth. And in that sense, you could say that it is kind of a Ponzi scheme, because unless that keeps on growing, Bitcoin cannot grow. But right up to that point, Bitcoin continued to rise in value, and it snowballed. For 9 years, it went through this cycle of boom and bust, bubble after bubble, until we reached the pinnacle bubble in 2017, brought on by bigger money, I guess you could say, institutions that started to take notice. And they wanted a piece of that action. Yep. And they added weight, a little bit of weight, to the idea of Bitcoin through a semi-legitimized attempt to feign or make it seem like institutional money wanted part of this, which they did. So the CME, they offered futures. CME is the biggest futures exchange on the planet, and that carries a lot of weight. Now, the CBOE, the Chicago Board of Exchange, also tried their hand at a Bitcoin futures product, but it fell flat on its face because the CBOE does not, from a futures point of view, does not have the weight of CME. So that brought a great deal of weight and anticipation. I mean, that was a great story. Oh, the CME is getting involved in it. That means institutions are going to just start piling in. But that was a ruse. People were led to believe this would usher in financial wealth and institutions and boost the price to the sky. But people like me knew different. I had predicted it well before, that it would do exactly the opposite. And that it wasn't a tool for the retail trader or the enthusiast or for the rest of us. It was a tool for the hedger to short. And so the biggest bubble burst. And we are now still, after 2 years, in the shadow of that event. So I ask again, what is Bitcoin good for? I mean, we've established that censorship resistance is one use case. Perhaps maybe store of value, but certainly not as a currency. I mean, it's simply too volatile. It just doesn't have the liquidity. And you need liquidity in order to be stabilized, and the currency needs to be stabilized in order to be useful. I guess you could use it to send people money. I mean, I personally use it as a form of payment in our Bitcoin trader signal service, Patterncast, and other online things that I offer. And from that, I have to do that because there are some people that just want to spend Bitcoin because that's what they have. And unfortunately, it's a pretty expensive endeavor. It's an expensive form of payment for me as a person who's offering services because the fees are so big for virtually anything under, I guess, a couple $1,000s. Maybe once you get beyond that, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, they might start making sense as a way to store or transfer money. But right now, when I take in Bitcoin, and part of this problem though is that I can't take in subscriptions. Subscriptions are off the radar here. It's just not possible because of that censorship, quite frankly. The fees hit you when you want to convert it to fiat. And of course you have to convert it to fiat in order to do anything useful with the money, like pay bills, right? So it's really a sucky form of payment, even though I have to do it. I only accept it because people want to get rid of it, I guess, or because why do they want to get rid of it? They generally got lucky because they bought in on it early on. And now, because of its incredible increased value, they can use it to purchase valuable services like the one I offer or what other people offer for practically nothing compared to what they originally put into it. compared to if you were to compare that to, say, US dollars. So again, I ask, what is Bitcoin good for? Is censorship resistance the only thing? I mean, how many people require censorship resistance? Of the millions of people that are in the US and the billions around the world, what percentage of the people are looking for censorship resistance, given all the other flaws, as their driving need for Bitcoin? I mean, if you took away the criminals that I had mentioned before, I mean, how many people would that have left? I mean, how many people would really find that one use case? I venture to bet that it is well under 1%. And that is why Bitcoin is not, the network of Bitcoin has not been expanding. It has not been expanding since 2018. So what is it good for? What is it good for? Well, what about a store of value? So there we might be actually hitting on a point, at least until now. Bitcoin has been the fastest appreciating asset on the planet. It's also one of the most volatile. And people have been stoked on the hype that actually continues in the mainstream media. That stokedness has waned a bit in the past couple of years. But the volatility hasn't because of that stoking. And that's what makes it a great thing to trade. And that's why I'm in the business that I'm in, because I recognize that. I recognize, hey, this is something you can trade. You can actually get more Bitcoin, convert it into fiat, use it, make more money. So I can grind out money with trading because of these qualities of Bitcoin, this kind of pseudo store of value. I mean, incredibly volatile store of value. Make sure you buy it at the right time. But the high valuation, the fair liquidity that it has at times, slippage is kind of questionable, but, it's reasonable at the current price. And there's the great expectation that price could move anywhere from 2 to 10% on a daily basis. That's crazy! From a trader's point of view, that's fantastic. I mean, factor in a little bit of leverage, the use of regulated exchanges, and with the advent of stable futures and options coming in Q1 of 2020, by the CME again, the most prestigious exchange in the world, they will be backing options on futures. I mean, that is mind-blowing for a trader. Now, that's something worth getting excited about. That is what Bitcoin is good for. Trading! Options. Look for it. We'll be all over that. Trust me. What is it good for? Trading. Bitcoin. See you next video.